The simulation chamber exploded in a cascade of crimson light, and Maya Chen didn't flinch. Around her, 23 cadets from 17 different species jerked backward, their various appendages flailing as the virtual battle station detonated across their neural feeds. The Verx twins hissed through their gill slits. A Corthon slammed its 6 fists against its desk. Even the stoic Helixians allowed their crystalline bodies to pulse an agitated orange. But Maya simply leaned back, crossed her arms, and smiled. She had won. Again, Commander Voss, a towering Drell with deep purple scales and eyes like liquid mercury, silenced his translator and studied the human with something between curiosity and irritation. The Galactic Defense Academy didn't typically produce specialists in their first semester. Most cadets spent years mastering basic tactical protocols before attempting advanced combat simulations. This human had solved the Terminus scenario in 4 minutes and 37 seconds. The previous record was 18 minutes, held by a Corthon warborn who had 300 years of ancestral battle memory. Cadet Chen, Voss said, his voice resonating through the chamber like distant thunder. Explain your strategy. Maya stood, her movements economical and precise. At 5'6", she was dwarfed by nearly every being in the room, but she carried herself with the confidence of someone who had nothing to prove and everything to gain. The scenario assumed conventional thinking. She began, her voice clear and steady. Everyone expects you to defend the station, reinforce shields, deploy fighters, establish a perimeter. That's doctrine. And you ignored doctrine, Voss said. It wasn't a question. I ignored stupidity, Maya replied. The station was compromised. Hull breaches in sections 7 through 12. Life support failing. Enemy fleet inbound with superior firepower. Defending was suicide with extra steps. A ripple of shocked mutters spread through the class. Several translators buzzed with species-specific curses. So you abandoned your post. A voice sneered from the back row. Maya's eyes shifted to the source. Krell Vanok, Zentari warrior caste. 7 feet of muscle, bone plating, and ego. He had made his opinion of humans clear from day one. Weak, soft, unworthy of standing alongside true warriors. Assessed narrative progress, and monitored word count trajectory. Good start. I'm setting up the conflict naturally. Maya is competent and confident. Krell is the antagonist. Now I need to build the tension without repeating myself. Let me continue tracking word count carefully. Current count approximately 320 words. I need to get to 200 and 500 for part 1. I evacuated 3,000 personnel and denied the enemy their objective, Maya said, turning to face him fully. The station was a loss. Saving it would have cost lives we couldn't afford, so I rigged the reactor, set a delayed detonation and jumped the entire civilian population to safety coordinates. When their fleet arrived, they found wreckage and radiation. Cowardice dressed as tactics. Krell shot back, rising from his seat. His bone crests flared, a threat display that would intimidate most species. A true warrior stands and fights. A true idiot dies for no reason, Maya countered. But please, enlighten us. What would you have done? Beaten your chest and roared at their dreadnoughts? Laughter rippled through the chamber. Not universal, but enough to make Krell's mandibles clench. Commander Voss raised one clawed hand. Enough. Cadet Chen's solution was unorthodox, but effective. Cadet Vanok, perhaps you should focus on results rather than posturing. The Zentari settled back into his seat, but his eyes never left Maya. She could read the promise there. This wasn't over. Good. She was tired of being underestimated. The class continued, moving through additional scenarios, each one designed to test different aspects of command and tactical thinking. Maya performed adequately, deliberately avoiding another spectacular display. Drawing too much attention was counterproductive. She had already painted a target on her back simply by being human. Earth had only joined the Galactic Collective 32 years ago. In cosmic terms, humanity was still crawling. Most species viewed them as curious primitives who had gotten lucky with their faster-than-light technology. Dangerous in their unpredictability, perhaps, but hardly worth serious consideration. Maya intended to change that perception, one arrogant alien at a time if necessary. When Commander Voss dismissed them, the cadets filed out in the usual clusters. Species tended to group together, a natural tribalism that transcended worlds. Maya walked alone, as always, until a scaled hand gripped her shoulder and spun her around. Krell loomed over her, his 3 fellow Zentari warriors flanking him like living walls. "You made me look foolish," he growled. "You did that yourself," Maya replied. "I just watched." His hand tightened, claws pricking through her uniform. Around them, other cadets paused, sensing confrontation. Some looked curious, others concerned. A few seemed eager for entertainment. "Your species has no honor," Krell continued. "You sneak and run and claim it as victory. You are parasites playing at being soldiers." Maya smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. "Let go of my shoulder." "Or what? You'll run away? Call for help? Or I'll break 3 of your fingers and use the 4th to explain basic anatomy." The corridor went silent. Several translators hiccuped, uncertain they had processed correctly. Krell laughed, a harsh grating sound. "You? Break me? You barely reach my chest plate." "Physics is physics," Maya said. "Leverage doesn't care about your feelings." She moved. Later, Academy security footage would be studied by tactical instructors across 17 systems. The movement was so efficient, so perfectly executed, that it seemed almost choreographed. Maya dropped her weight, rotated her hips, and used Krell's own grip against him. His wrist bent at an angle nature never intended. 2 fingers snapped with audible cracks. He released her immediately, bellowing in pain and rage. She stepped back, hands raised in a peaceable gesture. "I warned you," she said simply. Krell lunged. Maya sidestepped, hooked his ankle, and sent all 7 feet of warrior crashing into the deck plating. Before he could recover, she had his arm locked behind his back, her knee pressed against his spine. "Yield," she said quietly. "Never," Krell thrashed, his superior strength starting to overpower her hold. So Maya drove her thumb into a nerve cluster she had memorized from xenobiology class. Zentari anatomy was surprisingly vulnerable once you knew where to look. Krell screamed. "Yield," Maya repeated. "I yield." The words were strangled, humiliated. She released him immediately, standing and stepping back. Around them, dozens of cadets stared in shock. A human had just beaten a Zentari warrior in hand-to-hand combat, without weapons or enhancements. Impossible. Except they had all witnessed it. Krell climbed to his feet, cradling his injured hand, his eyes blazing with hatred and shame. Orchestrated narrative escalation and tracked word count progression. "Good. I'm building the tension and showing Maya's competence." The physical confrontation establishes her as capable but also creates a clear antagonist in Krell. Now I need to escalate this beyond just a school fight. Let me continue building toward the Part 1 twist. Current word count approximately 900 words. Need to reach 250 Part 1. "This isn't finished," he hissed. "Cadet Vanek, Cadet Chen. My office now." Commander Voss stood at the corridor intersection, his expression unreadable. They followed in silence. The commander's office overlooked the Academy's central courtyard, where cadets from across the galaxy trained in everything from zero-gravity combat to diplomatic negotiation. The collective believed in producing well-rounded officers. Warriors who could think, diplomats who could fight. Voss gestured them to seats they both ignored. "Fighting between cadets is strictly prohibited," he began. "He grabbed me first," Maya said. "She provoked me," Krell countered, "by being better than you." Voss's tone was dry. "Fragile ego is not an acceptable defense, Cadet Vanek." The Zentari bristled but said nothing. "However," Voss continued, "assaulting a fellow cadet, regardless of provocation, cannot be overlooked. Cadet Chen, you could have called for security, and let him think humans are weak." Maya shook her head. "Respect is earned, Commander. He needed to learn that lesson. So you broke his fingers, 2 fingers, and I gave him a chance to walk away." Morse studied them both, then reached a decision that would alter the trajectory of both their lives. "Tomorrow morning, 0600, holodeck 7. You will settle this properly. Full combat simulation, no restrictions. The fight ends when one of you yields or is incapacitated." Maya felt something cold settle in her stomach. "Sir, that's highly irregular. So is having a first-semester cadet solve Terminus. So is having a Zentari warrior humiliated in a corridor. Irregular seems to be our new standard." He leaned forward. "You both want to prove something. Fine. Prove it, where I can control the damage, and perhaps you'll both learn that pride is expensive." Krell's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. "Accepted." Maya hesitated. A holodeck fight would be brutal. No safety protocols meant real pain, even if no permanent damage occurred. Krell would be looking for payback, and in a full combat scenario his advantages in size and strength would be significant. But backing down now would undermine everything she had accomplished. Accepted, she said. Excellent. Dismissed. They left separately. Maya headed directly to the library database, pulling up everything she could find on Centauri combat techniques, physiology, and battle doctrine. Knowledge was her weapon. She would need every advantage. Her datapad chimed. A message from home. Earth timestamps always look strange. Her family existed 12 hours in her past, living their lives while she trained among aliens who considered humanity little more than ambitious children. She opened the message. Her mother's face appeared, warm and concerned. "Hi, honey, just checking in. Your father and I saw the news about the collective expansion into the Outer Rim. Stay safe out there, we love you." Maya smiled despite herself. Her parents had no idea what the academy was really like. They thought she was learning to be a bridge officer on some exploration vessel. The truth was considerably more complicated. The Galactic Defense Academy produced the collective's elite ship captains, battle commanders, strategic planners, and yes, occasionally, intelligence operatives who worked in shadows most citizens never knew existed. Maya had taken the entrance exams on a whim, expecting to fail spectacularly. She had scored in the 99th percentile, humanity's first acceptance in 20 years. The pressure was immense. She closed the message and returned to her research. Sleep could wait. Tomorrow she would face Krell, and she needed to be ready. The next morning arrived with the artificial dawn the Academy used to maintain circadian rhythms across species. Maya dressed carefully, checked her gear and made her way to holodeck 7. A crowd had gathered. Apparently word had spread. Dozens of cadets clustered outside the holodeck entrance, their various communication methods buzzing with speculation and wagers. Maya spotted several instructors as well, observing with professional interest. Great. No pressure. Krell was already inside, warming up with a series of stretches that showcased his impressive physicality. His injured hand was wrapped, but functional. Centauri healed quickly. Commander Voss stood at the control podium. "This is a sanctioned combat exercise. Standard holodeck safety protocols are active. When I determine a clear victor, the match ends. Is that understood?" Both cadets confirmed. Arena setting. Urban warfare. Terrain advantage negated. You both start with standard loadouts. Begin on my mark. The holodeck shimmered, and suddenly they stood in the ruins of what looked like an ancient Earth city. Crumbling skyscrapers, broken streets, perfect cover and killing zones. Maya's heart hammered. This was real as simulation could be. 3. Voss counted down. 2, 1. Mark. Krell had charged immediately, weapon raised, a Centauri war cry echoing off digital buildings. Maya ran, not away toward an overturned vehicle that provided cover and sightlines. She slid into position, brought up her rifle and fired 3 calculated shots. All 3 hit Krell's armor, slowing but not stopping him. He adapted, using rubble for cover, advancing with tactical precision that surprised her. Clearly he had done his homework too. The battle became a dance. Move, fire, relocate. Maya used her smaller size to navigate tight spaces. Krell used his strength to create new paths through obstacles. They traded shots, neither gaining decisive advantage, until Krell threw a plasma grenade into her position. Orchestrated narrative escalation toward Part 1 climax, with unexpected twist. I'm at around 1,600 words now. I need to build to the twist for Part 1, which should end at exactly 250. Let me escalate the holodeck fight and then introduce the twist that will hook readers for Part 2. The twist should be something unexpected. Maybe the simulation gets hijacked, or something reveals this is more than just a training exercise. Maya dove, felt the heat wash over her and came up firing. Her shot caught Krell in the shoulder joint, right where armor plates met. He staggered, and she pressed her advantage closing distance with her sidearm ready. They grappled in the rubble, struggling for dominance. Krell's strength was overwhelming at close range, but Maya targeted his injured shoulder, driving her elbow into the wound until he loosened his grip enough for her to break free. She swept his legs again, but this time he anticipated, rolling with the momentum and coming up with a combat blade drawn. Maya barely avoided the slash, felt the edge nick her ribs. Real pain. The holodeck wasn't pulling punches. They circled each other, both bleeding from minor wounds, both breathing hard. "You fight well," Krell admitted. "For prey, you talk a lot," Maya replied. "For someone losing," he lunged. She sidestepped, slashed with her own blade, and opened a line across his thigh. Krell roared and backhanded her. Maya flew 6 feet, hit a wall and tasted blood. Okay, new strategy. She activated her tactical scanner, something she should have done earlier. The device mapped the surrounding area, highlighting structural weaknesses, weapons caches, and her blood went cold. 3 heat signatures. Not in the simulation, in the actual holodeck, hiding behind equipment panels. This wasn't a training exercise anymore. Someone was here. Watching. Waiting. Maya switched channels on her comm, trying to reach Voss, but found only static. Jam. Krell noticed her distraction and charged. Maya met him head-on this time, surprising him with her aggression. They crashed through a holographic storefront, glass that felt real shattering around them. "Krell," she hissed, "we have a problem." "The only problem is you," he snarled, but there was uncertainty in his eyes. He had noticed something was wrong too. The holodeck flickered. Then the entire simulation froze. Krell and Maya stood in a field of suspended animation, digital snow hanging in mid-air. Explosions paused mid-detonation. From behind the equipment panels, 3 figures emerged. They wore no uniforms. Their weapons were decidedly non-standard Academy issue, and their movements spoke of professional training that went far beyond cadet level. The lead figure removed their helmet. Maya's world tilted. Dr. Sarah Chen stared back at her. Her mother, who was supposed to be on Earth, working as a civilian xenobiologist, not standing in the Academy holodeck with a military-grade plasma rifle and tactical armor. "Hello, Maya," her mother said calmly. "We need to talk." Outside, through the holodeck windows, Maya could see Commander Voss slumped at his control station. Unconscious or dead, she couldn't tell. Other instructors who had been watching were down as well. The gathered cadets scattered in panic as additional armed figures secured the area. This wasn't a training exercise, this was an invasion, and her mother was leading it. Krell moved to attack, but one of the other operatives fired a stunner that dropped him instantly. Maya raised her hands slowly, mind racing through impossible scenarios. "Mom, what the hell is going on?" Sarah Chen's expression was complex, mixing regret with determination. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way, sweetheart. But the Academy isn't what you think it is. The collective isn't what you think it is." She gestured to her companions. "And I'm not who you think I am." "That's reassuring," Maya said, voice dripping with sarcasm that barely masked her fear. "Any other revelations?" "Dad's secretly a warlord. Our dog an alien spy. Your father doesn't know. He's genuinely a civilian. But Maya, your acceptance here wasn't luck. It was a plan. Humanity has enemies in the collective, powerful ones, and they've been using the Academy as a recruitment ground for something terrible. So you attacked it? We're extracting assets before it's too late. Including you. I'm not an asset. I'm your daughter. You're both, and right now you're in danger you can't imagine." Sarah moved closer, her weapon lowered but ready. "In approximately 90 seconds, collective security will breach this holodeck. When they do, you have a choice. Come with us and learn the truth about humanity's place in this galaxy, or stay here and become exactly what they've been molding you to be. A weapon pointed at your own species." Maya looked at Krella's unconscious form, at the frozen simulation around them, at her mother's face, familiar yet utterly foreign. "What am I supposed to be?" she asked quietly. Sarah smiled sadly. "Something they fear. Something they need to control." "Maya, you didn't just solve Terminus quickly. You solved it using strategies that shouldn't exist in human tactical doctrine yet. Strategies you couldn't have learned. Strategies that came from somewhere else." "What are you talking about?" The holodeck door began to glow, cutting torches. Time was running out. Sarah held out her hand. "Come with me and find out. Or stay and forget this ever happened." "They're very good at making people forget." Maya stared at that outstretched hand. Every instinct screamed that this was insane. Her mother was a scientist. Earth was humanity's home. The collective was humanity's future. Except Maya had never questioned how easily the Terminus solution had come to her. How naturally she understood tactical scenarios that should have taken years to master. How sometimes late at night she had memories of places she had never been and battles she had never fought. The door began to buckle. Maya took her mother's hand. The extraction was a nightmare of violence and precision. Sarah's team moved through the academy like they owned the place, disabling security systems and neutralizing resistance with minimal casualties. Maya ran beside her mother, questions piling up faster than she could process them, while alarms screamed and weapons fire echoed through corridors she had walked 1,000 times. They reached an auxiliary hangar where a stealth ship waited, its profile designed to evade every sensor system the collective possessed. As they sprinted up the boarding ramp, Maya caught a glimpse of other figures being herded aboard. Other cadets, other humans, all wearing the same expression of confusion and betrayal. The ship launched before the ramp fully closed, punching through the Academy's weakened shields and streaking into the darkness beyond. Maya strapped into an acceleration couch, her hands shaking with adrenaline and fear and anger all twisted together. Sarah slid into the seat beside her. "I know you have questions. You think?" Maya's voice was sharper than she intended. "You just kidnapped me from the most prestigious military academy in the galaxy. Pretty sure I'm entitled to an explanation. Fair." Sarah pulled off her tactical gloves, revealing hands that Maya recognized from a lifetime of memories. The same hands that had taught her to ride a bicycle, that had bandaged scraped knees, that had waved goodbye when she left for the academy. Hands that now belonged to a stranger. Orchestrated word count calibration and mapped narrative structure for dual-part resolution. "I'm at approximately 250 words for part 1. Let me make sure I end exactly at 250. Let me count more carefully and adjust if needed. Actually, I think I'm slightly over." So I ended part 1 right at the extraction, with Maya taking her mother's hand. Now I need to start part 2 and make sure it's also exactly 250 words and provides the full resolution.
Now for part 2, I need to
Reveal the truth about the collective and humanity. Explain Maya's abilities. Provide multiple twists. Show Maya's revenge resolution. Strong emotional conclusion. Maintain the no repetition rule. Keep tension high. End satisfyingly. Let me continue with part 2, being very careful about word count. 20 years ago, Sarah began. Humanity made first contact. Official story says the collective welcomed us, showed us the stars, offered us technology and partnership. That's not what happened. Oh, it happened, but there's context. When humanity developed quantum fold drives, we became the first species in recorded history to achieve faster-than-light travel independently. Every other collective race was given the technology, uplifted by their predecessors. Humanity figured it out alone. Maya frowned. "So what, we got lucky? Did we?" Sarah's expression was grim. "Or did we do what humans always do? Take the impossible and make it work through sheer bloody-minded determination." "Maya, do you know how many species have achieved spaceflight in the last 1,000,000 years? Hundreds, thousands. And do you know how many achieved FTL without outside help?" Maya waited. One. The ship shuddered as it executed a series of evasive maneuvers. Through the viewport, Maya could see collective interceptors giving chase, their weapons lighting up the void. "They're not trying to disable us," Sarah noted. "They're trying to destroy us. Notice the difference?" "Mom, I'm still waiting for the part where this makes sense. The collective is terrified of humanity. Not because we're stronger or smarter, though we might be both. They're terrified because we're adaptable, we innovate, we refuse to accept limitations, and most importantly, we don't have the genetic compliance markers." "The what?" Sarah pulled up a holographic display showing a complex DNA strand. Every collective species has been genetically modified at some point in their evolutionary history. Markers that make them susceptible to certain types of psychic influence, control mechanisms built into their very biology. Maya felt cold. And humans don't have these markers. Bingo. Which means we can't be controlled the way they control everyone else. So the collective decided on a different approach. Cultural indoctrination. Convince humanity that we're young and inexperienced, that they need guidance, get humans to self-limit, to doubt themselves, to accept a subordinate role. The academy, Maya breathed. Among other things, they take the best and brightest human candidates and mold them into loyal officers who will enforce collective doctrine on Earth. Officers who will help keep humanity in check from the inside. But you said I was different, that my tactical abilities come from Project Prometheus. Sarah's voice dropped. 23 years ago, before you were born, I was part of a Black Ops research team. We discovered ancient ruins on Mars, technology that predated the collective by millions of years. And in those ruins we found genetic templates, instructions for creating enhanced cognitive abilities. Maya's world was crumbling. You experimented on me. I gave you a chance. Sarah met her eyes. The collective found out about Prometheus. They couldn't destroy the research, so they infiltrated it, sabotaged it, made it look like a failure. But 3 children survived the protocol. 3 children with neural patterns that could access tactical databases the collective thought they had destroyed eons ago. 3. Maya's voice was barely a whisper. Who are the others?
I don't know.
The program scattered us, different families, different planets, all carefully monitored. The collective was waiting to see what you would become, waiting to see if you were a threat or a tool. One of the other operatives called from the cockpit. We've got a problem. Collective dreadnought decloaking at intercept vector. We can't outrun it. Sarah cursed and unstrapped, moving forward. Maya followed, her mind still reeling. The dreadnought filled their forward display, a massive warship that could reduce their stealth ship to atoms without breaking stride. This is Collective Enforcement Vessel Terminus. A voice boomed over comms, surrender immediately or be destroyed. Terminus. The same name as the simulation Maya had solved. Something clicked. Mom, Maya said slowly, let me see the tactical station. Maya, there's no time. Trust me. Sarah hesitated, then nodded to the tactical officer, who yielded his position. Maya's hands flew over the controls, pulling up ship specifications, weapon capabilities, shield configurations. The information flowed into her mind with eerie familiarity, like remembering a song she had heard once but never forgot. The ancient database. It was real, and she could access it. They're charging weapons, someone reported. Give me 30 seconds, Maya said. We don't have 30 seconds. Then give me 20. She found what she was looking for. A flaw in the Terminus-class dreadnought's shield harmonics. A vulnerability that existed because the ships were designed using collective doctrine, which prioritized certain defensive configurations over others, configurations that assumed conventional thinking. Maya smiled. Bring us about full burn toward the dreadnought. That's suicide, the pilot protested. That's strategy, Maya countered. Sarah, I need you to trust me. Her mother studied her face, seeing something there that made her decide. Do it. The ship pivoted and accelerated, racing toward the massive warship like a moth diving into a flame. Weapons free, Maya ordered. Target these exact coordinates. She transmitted her calculations. Those won't penetrate their shields. The weapons officer objected. They're not supposed to. Fire on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark. Their weapons struck the dreadnought's shields at precisely calculated angles, creating interference patterns that cascaded through the harmonic frequencies. For exactly 2.3 seconds, a section of the shield collapsed. Launch everything we have into that gap. Now! Missiles streaked across space, punching through the momentary weakness and slamming into the dreadnought's hull. Not enough to destroy it, but enough to cripple its primary weapons array and give them the opening they needed. Jump! Maya shouted. The ship folded space and vanished. When they emerged 3 light-years away, the crew was silent, staring at Maya with expressions that mixed fear and awe. Sarah was the first to speak. How did you know that would work? I didn't. Not consciously. But when I looked at their ship, I just saw the solution. Like it was already there in my head, waiting. That's the database. Ancient tactical knowledge from a civilization that conquered most of the galaxy before the collective even existed. Sarah sat down heavily. Maya, you just used strategies that are supposed to be myth, forbidden knowledge that the collective claims doesn't exist. Except it does exist. And they've been terrified someone would find it again. Maya looked at the other rescued cadets, seeing new understanding in their faces. How many of us are there? Prometheus children? We're not sure. Dozens, maybe, scattered across human space. Most don't know what they are, but now the collective knows I know. Which makes me what? A target? An asset they'll want to control or eliminate. Sarah stood. Which is why we're taking you somewhere they can't reach. Somewhere humanity has been preparing for the day we'd have to make a choice. What choice? Whether to keep playing by collective rules or write our own. The ship continued its journey, jumping through a series of fold points that took them far from collective space. Maya spent the time talking with the other rescued humans, learning their stories. Some had suspected something was wrong. Others were still processing the shock. All of them shared one thing: exceptional abilities that had made them stand out at the Academy. 3 days later they arrived at coordinates that weren't on any official star chart. A massive station hung in the void, surrounded by a fleet of human ships that bore no collective markings. Thousands of vessels, from corvettes to carriers, all bristling with weapons that mixed human engineering with technology Maya didn't recognize. "Welcome," Sarah said quietly, "to Sanctuary. Humanity's insurance policy." They docked, and Maya stepped into a facility that was part military base, part research complex, part city. Humans everywhere, working with purpose and determination she had never seen on Earth or at the Academy. A man approached, elderly but sharp-eyed, wearing an admiral's insignia. "Cadet Chen. I'm Admiral Marcus Webb. Your mother has told me a great deal about you." "Apparently everyone knows more about me than I do," Maya replied. Webb smiled. "Erect. I like that. Walk with me." He led her through the station, explaining as they went, humanity had discovered the truth about the collective 15 years ago. Since then, a shadow government had been preparing for the inevitable conflict. Building ships, training soldiers, researching ancient technology. "The collective maintains peace through control," Webb said. "They've convinced every species that their way is the only way. That resistance is futile. That individual thought is dangerous. And humanity doesn't buy it. We can't. It's not in our nature. We're too stubborn, too creative, too damn determined to be locked into someone else's vision of order." He stopped at an observation window overlooking a massive construction bay. "That's the first Earth Defense Force dreadnought, built using human ingenuity and ancient designs from the database. No collective technology, no collective control." Maya stared at the massive warship taking shape. "You're planning a war. We're planning survival. The collective will never allow humanity to exist as true equals. Eventually they'll move to eliminate us or break us completely. We're just making sure that when that day comes, we're ready. And people like me, the Prometheus children, you're our edge. Tactical minds that can outthink collective doctrine because you have access to strategies they've spent millennia trying to erase." Webb turned to face her. "Maya, I won't lie to you. What we're asking is dangerous. The collective has resources we can't match, numbers we can't match. But they have one critical weakness: they underestimate humans." "Exactly. They think we're primitives playing with toys we don't understand. They think we'll fold when they apply pressure. They're wrong." Maya thought about Krell, dismissing her as weak prey. She thought about the collective's condescending attitude toward humanity. She thought about all the times she had been told to temper her instincts, to follow protocol, to accept that others knew better. Anger crystallized into determination. "What do you need me to do?" Webb smiled. "First, we finish your education. Real education, not collective propaganda. Then we put that brilliant tactical mind to work preparing for the fight of our species' life." Over the following weeks, Maya trained with other Prometheus children. She learned to fully access the ancient database, to trust the instincts that came from knowledge millions of years old. She studied collective military doctrine and found dozens of exploitable weaknesses. And she planned. One morning, Sarah found her in the tactical center, surrounded by holographic displays showing fleet movements and planetary defenses. "You should rest."
Can't. I'm close to something.
"Close to what?" Maya manipulated the display, highlighting a series of collective military installations. The Academy wasn't just about training officers. It was about identifying threats. Humans who didn't fit their mold. Humans who might become problems. We knew that. But here's what we didn't know. Every Academy graduate gets assigned to specific sectors, positions that seem like promotions but are actually isolation. They separate exceptional humans from each other, and from Earth, keep us scattered and controlled. Sarah leaned forward, studying the pattern Maya had uncovered. "If we could coordinate," Maya continued, "reach these officers and show them the truth, we could turn the collective's own system against them. Officers in key positions who suddenly start making decisions that benefit humanity instead of the collective agenda." "That's brilliant," and incredibly dangerous. All the best plans are— Maya looked at her mother. I'm still angry at you. For the experiments, for the lies, for all of it. I know, but I understand why. And I'm choosing to use what you gave me. On my terms. Sarah embraced her. I'm proud of you. Not because of the database or the tactical genius, because you're taking an impossible situation and finding a way through.
That's the most human thing possible.
6 months later, Maya stood in a briefing room filled with admirals, generals, and civilian leaders. On the screen behind her was a comprehensive plan to infiltrate the collective's power structure, not with weapons but with ideas. They think they've contained us, she said. They think humanity is manageable, controllable, harmless. She smiled, and it was sharp enough to cut. Let's show them what happens when humans decide they've had enough. The vote was unanimous. Operation Prometheus was approved, and across the galaxy, in academies and officer clubs and command centers, humans began waking up to the truth. One conversation at a time, one revelation at a time, the collective had made a critical error. They had taught humans their systems, given them access to their networks, integrated them into their military structure, all while underestimating the very thing that made humanity dangerous. The refusal to accept defeat. Maya Chen walked the corridors of Sanctuary, no longer a cadet trying to prove herself to aliens who would never truly accept her. She was something new, something the collective had feared since the first human looked up at the stars and decided to reach them. A human who knew exactly what she was capable of and refused to apologize for it. Somewhere in collective space, Krell would be recovering from his encounter with her mother's team, probably filling out reports about the terrorist attack on the academy. He would never know that the human he had dismissed as weak prey was now coordinating a resistance that would reshape galactic politics. That was fine. Humans worked better when underestimated, and Maya had learned that some fights weren't won with fists or weapons, but with patience, intelligence, and the absolute certainty that humanity would never bow to anyone's vision of what they should be. Krell had picked a fight in class. Maya had ended it by starting a revolution. The universe would never be the same, and for the first time since leaving Earth, Maya Chen smiled without reservation, knowing exactly who she was and what she was meant to do. Fight for humanity's future, on her own terms, without mercy.